Hello everybody, my name is Ruth Esteban and I'm a marine mammal researcher at the Madeira Whale Museum, and I'm going to introduce you to the killer whales of the Strait of Gibraltar, an endangered subpopulation which is now famous because it's interacting with vessels. We did a present pseudo-arson model, and the SPRINT model predicted that the most important area for the killer whales was the western part of the Strait of Gibraltar. So if the killer whales try to follow the tuna in deep waters, tunas can escape going to deeper waters, and killer whales are not, as they are not deep divers, they cannot follow them to the deep. In the other hand, in shallow water, the killer whales are able to follow the tunas for up to 30 minutes until the tunas get tired and they can capture them. It is in summer season when we observe the killer whales most of the time interacting with a longline fishery in the central waters of the Strait of Gibraltar, where the killer whales capture the tuna from the long lines of the fishermen. And in this case, the fishery will make these tunas that normally cross the strait in deep waters more accessible to the killer whales, being in this case a hunting technique with a low expenditure of energies. Furthermore, in 2019, this subpopulation was categorized as critically endangered by the IUCN Red Dot list of threatened species. 2020 arrived, a year of changes, in many ways for human, but also for this subpopulation. After the almost worldwide lockdown, a disruptive behavior was observed, in which these killer whales were reported interacting with boats, actively entering in contact with the vessels, particularly with sailing vessels, resulting mainly in breaking the moving parts of their rudders. In the middle of all that craziness, we created a working group formed by the NGOs, whale watching companies, and administrations as a result of previously existing collaboration, and with a willing of giving response to this unprecedented situation. First, I'm going to show you one of the first interactions that happened in the Strait of Gibraltar. As you can see, the pilot was trying to control the vessel, taking control of the wheel until he got his shoulder damaged and left the wheel loose. The animals took control of the rudder and turned the boat almost 360 degrees. The animals are normally at the center of the boat, as you can see, really close to the hull, showing off apparently an assignment. And sometimes they do an intense babbling that you're going to see in a second there. In this case, they were lucky and nothing happened to the boat, and even the skipper recovered well soon after of the shoulder. In this case, I let the sun. You're going to know why. Yeah, because they were bumping the rudder pretty hard. This is why it is important to leave the wheel loose. These animals ended, in this case, the animals ended breaking the spades of the rudder in half, as you can see in these pictures. In this other case, you can see how the animals are kind of calm, as the boat is almost stopped. They were not going that fast. Also, they were already bumping the rudder, but they are mostly, as you can see, inspecting the stern. This was one of the worst cases. It occurred completely during night. The animals were for an hour with the boat and almost constantly bumping the boat really actively. So you can understand the stress of the crew in this case. The animals broke the rudder, bending the rudder shaft with an angle of almost 90 degrees, as you can see here in this picture. This is another sample of a reef where the animals were only touching the floater, as you will see now. Yeah, here you have it. And so far, we could identify two interacting groups. In this one, in particular, the active animals are the juveniles, while the others stay away from the boat. And these are the numbers that we were able to gather, but we do still believe that there are more cases that we don't know about. In summary, there has been 72 interactions, which in average were 20 minutes long. And this is the action plan that we designed based on the videos and the testimonies of the crews. Basically, we suggest to stop the vessel whenever it is possible. Of course, there are situations that cannot be. Contact the authorities, leave the wheel loose, and when the animals stop interacting and they have been bumping for a while, check the integrity of the rudder and ask for a tow if needed. And that's it. I would like to thank everyone that has contributed somehow in this study. This is coming from a team effort, and also I would like to thank the Orca Network for inviting us to present this to you and to all of you for assisting in this. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.